Hello and welcome to this conversation. I'm Ashwini Mishra, Editor Technology at ET Insights, and I am in conversation with Harshvendra Soin, Global Chief People Officer and Head Marketing at Tech Mahindra. Welcome, Harsh, to this conversation.
Thank you. Lovely to be here. Thank you.
Likewise, thank you so much for taking our time. Uh, you know, let's talk about the key issues that HR leaders like yourselves are facing. Speaking specifically for the IT sector, what are the expectations of talent that you have, and what has changed over the last 3-4 years?
So I guess, like any other industry, we are also been facing some talent challenges. But we clearly see that post the pandemic, talent is really looking at different things. One, of course, the whole thing about hybrid.
Right.
Okay, and hybrid is not about working from some place. It's also working from anywhere, when you want to work, how you want to work. Right. The second big change that we see is on really the holistic well-being. Folks are really looking at companies which are a good brand on holistic wellness. And third big change that we see is, and this is on the priorities that I'm talking about, is that today folks want to join companies with a purpose.
Right.
And I'll tell you the reason it's a big shift is earlier, brands used to attract. But today, people choose wisely and intelligently, right? And finally, I would say that they are also looking for an organization that truly cares for them and grows them as an individual.
Absolutely.
And it's not really as a horde that, you have a big training program and everybody goes up, but it's actually personalization of career plans, personalization of, compensation plans that make a big difference.
Absolutely, very well said. So yes, employees are people as well, and they would be, wanting
That's
to
correct.
be treated that way. Any particular initiatives or examples that you would want to share in terms of how you are enabling the whole employee well-being as we spoke?
So I'll tell you, on the well-being side, we are probably on the foremost, whether it is physical or it is mental well-being. What we believe really in our company is a use of technology. And we have a saying that says, technology is an enabler, moments of truth are always human. Remember, we are 105 countries, 160,000 people. So what we've done is, even for wellness, so ranging from things like wellness robo that walks around looking at parameters, whether it is physical or mental parameters, to looking at, we have a small box called M Healthy, which we really used during COVID,
Right.
which was 98% accurate on detecting with a prick. To mental wellness, we have things, obviously the counseling, which is 24/7. Incidentally, the counseling is both professional and personal.
Right.
But we have tools like Tech Mahindra. We have tools where, if you're in anger, if you're anxious, and you're trying to write a mail, the tool will then prompt you and say, hold on, it doesn't seem to be you. So various kinds where we use technology, where we help people, wellness, mindfulness, to make sure that people are safe physically and mentally.
Absolutely right. You touched upon the tech piece, first. Data again is very critical for business.
Yeah.
As an HR leader, how are you effectively utilizing data?
So firstly, I think the differentiation between companies today is not how well you generate data, but how well you use it. Firstly, on of course, we are an IT company, but every single day there is a humongous amount of data on critical to watch factors that come on my table. We have a lot of predictive data. Now, whether it is attrition, I'm not sure if you are aware that Tech Mahindra is one of the lowest attrition company in peer set. And the differentiation is almost about 5.5% to 6%. One of the reasons we've been successful is we've used predictive data, not only to address concerns and issues, but also to make sure that we are proactive in our approach in addressing people. I can give you an example. I've always talked about facial recognition that we use as a tool to, instead of your ID cards, etc. But that facial recognition tool actually recognizes 8 emotions. And on an every single day basis, and it's GDPR compliant, so I don't know person,
Right.
but I know location-wise what's the mood. And that is one critical data to tell me something went wrong in a particular place if we didn't give a local, regional holiday, etc. Right? So that's one. Second, the data on upskilling. A lot of folks have this fallacy of still measuring training man hours, right? And we are very happy to say that, oh, by the way, we have X amount of training man hours. In Tech Mahindra, we don't measure training man hours, but we use the data of how many people actually got upskilled and got placed in the customer in a higher segment. And by the way, so it's all outcome driven, and the use of data is really to help us achieve outcomes in a predictive manner, right? So both predictive data, historical data, and it is shared with all the HR folks. There is no review without data for HR, okay? Because in our case, in my case specifically, because I do marketing, HR, and also business, I think the beauty of an HR professional and the effectiveness of an HR professional is if he or she can utilize data wisely.
Absolutely. Okay. Right. Very well said, and great example that you've cited here. One question that I had, Harsh, was, is too much of data also a cause of concern? Does it
100%.
lead to paralysis, if I may call it so?
100%. Let me use the right word. The real battle is not in generating data. The real win is in using data effectively. I've seen a lot of surveys happen, a lot of data is collected and no action, right? In our case, it is not only historical action, but it is predictive action. For example, I'll give you another example that we clearly after pandemic realized that your hiring and induction in a physical environment was not good. We did surveys where data showed us this. We immediately, incorporated what we call the metaverse hiring and induction module, where you can actually interview 100 people at a time, induct people from wherever they are based, right? In real time, in a real immersive experience.
You continue to do that?
That's absolutely 100%. And I think to us, data has to lead to actionable outcomes. Otherwise, else data is just data. You can have plenty of that.
Absolutely right. Another question, because again, we have seen emergence of ChatGPT, taken industries across. Are you looking at ChatGPT in some form, from the employee's perspective?
We don't have a choice. Everybody's looking at it, right? Every question you ask, employees are going to ChatGPT to figure out what it is. So we've actually said it's a tool which is, anyway, we are using for our customers, but we use it for training purposes, induction purposes. I think it is going to be a powerful tool in these two areas, and we obviously are using it a lot.
Last question that I had. What are the challenges and the opportunities that you see for HR leaders across?
Well, that's a long list. I can carry on for an hour. But yeah, see, in an uncertain, dynamic environment, the first thing, and something like an IT industry where HR cost or people cost is 64%, okay? The biggest thing is how do you manage costs proactively to help the company grow, okay? And I don't mean cost in terms of a number, I mean cost in terms of percentages. How do you make sure that you are propelling the business forward by optimizing costs? Okay? That's the first challenge. The second challenge remains on culture. A lot of people ask us, how do you manage a low attrition? What magic did you do? No magic. It is just a very strong culture which has been sustained and grown through, values, through philosophy, through an employee value proposition which is real. Okay. So the challenge really for an HR professional is to make the employee value proposition real for the employees. And finally, for HR to understand and lead business, I think, I see this as a challenge. HR folks still believe they are, people who will give HR jargon, or they will partner the business. I think it's time that HR folks take the step to lead the business, because for us it's a given, because our business is people. But even where there is other industries like manufacturing, retail, etc., HR folks, I think, need to really immerse themselves in not only partnering the business but leading it.
Absolutely. Very well said, Harsh. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
It's having a pleasure having this conversation.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much. Thank you.